You might have seen some time ago, I did a video on which pillow is best for obstructive sleep apnea. These pillows that are meant to stop you from snoring, stop you having obstructive sleep apnea. When I looked at that video, I felt that there were no good pillows out there on the market. None of them did the things that I wanted them to do. So I couldn't really say this is a better one than that one, because I felt that they all weren't very good. So my wife and I who have decided to try and make a medical device, or not even a medical device, it's mostly for snoring, to try and help people who want to sleep on their side. Now, a lot of people will know that when you roll someone over, they snore a little bit less, and up to about 75% of people will have a problem mostly when they're lying on their back. Most people, when they're lying on their side, do improve. Now, there are some problems with side sleeping, which makes it difficult, which is why most people like to sleep on their back. It's also, lots of reasons why sleeping on your back feels a bit more comfortable. So what I'll do is I'll go through those reasons now to explain what the difficulty is and why these pillows don't work very well. The first thing is, when you're lying on your back, you don't have to have a very big pillow. You only have to have that sort of size pillow, because there's not much distance between your shoulders and the back of your head. Whereas when you're sleeping on your side, it needs to go from your shoulder tip right to the side of your head, your ear. And it has to be quite big because you flop into it a little bit. So it's quite a lot bigger. You often need 2 pillows at least to sleep on your side. And if you get that angle wrong, you end up sleeping like this and you end up with a crick in your neck, or you end up sleeping like this and again you get a crick in your neck. So having you straight stops your spine from twisting and causing pain in your neck when you wake up in the morning. Also, you're pressing down in a pillow for the whole night, and if the pillow is quite hard, you end up pressing on this ear. Some people have it hurts so much in the middle of the night that they roll over onto their back, and their long-suffering wife has to roll them back over again, and the cycle repeats. So some people actually also get almost like a callus forming on the side of their ear. Sometimes it gets so painful that they just cannot sleep on their ears at all. So you need a pillow that doesn't put pressure on your ear and allows you to sleep on your side. It's really quite difficult. The other point to mention is sleeping on your side like this isn't exactly what you need, because sleeping on your side, the idea of sleeping on your side is so your tongue rolls forward out of the way so it doesn't block your breathing. So instead of sleeping on your side, which sits in a sort of neutral position, you actually need to be sleeping slightly into the pillow so your tongue is rolling forward with gravity out of the way. So it's almost like a 3/4 position rather than side sleeping. Side sleeping really isn't enough. It's a sort of 3/4 position, which we in the medical profession would call the recovery position, sort of like that sort of, when you sleep, like you see people lying on the floor like this, so their airways open, they can breathe, the tongue rolls forward out of the way so they don't choke on their own tongue. Now, as far as I saw in that video I told you about with the pillows, most of these pillows are based on trying to get you to sleep on a side position, or they just give neck support. They don't actually get you into that 3/4 into the pillow sort of place. But sleeping into the pillow is not great either, because then you can't breathe. If your pillow's like this, you can't breathe through one nostril, you can't breathe through the side of your mouth. It's very difficult. And also people with CPAP, they can't wear their CPAP because the pillow's in their face like this and it pulls it off to one side and it starts leaking. It's just disrupting, and they end up just sleeping on their back, where the pressures are often higher if you've got a tongue-based obstruction. And so if the pressures are higher, you need to pump up the CPAP even, give more power basically to the CPAP. Then it leaks more and it wakes you up and it goes into your eyes and stuff. So all of these things make it prudent to try and sleep on your side if you possibly can, even with CPAP. Now, when people sleep on their side, there is often a sort of a fetal position that people sleep in. They sleep like this and they tuck their jaw in. The trouble is, if you try to sleep like this, you'll notice that it's actually quite hard to breathe around your tongue. And we don't actually want people to sleep in the sort of fetal position. We want them to sleep in a slightly extended position. If those people watching this video have children, if you see them with loud snoring and some sort of sleep apnea, you end up seeing them sleep like this at night. This sort of slightly recovery type position is very, very common, this extended breathing position. That is the best position to sleep in to get you to be able to breathe naturally, to wake up not so disturbed, so you don't have the heart problems, you don't have the high blood pressure, you don't have the diabetes and weight gain, all those things that we talk about on this channel. I should do some videos on that as well. But sleeping in an extended position so your chin is up rather than tucked in like that is really helpful. And again, at 75, it's not 75, 3/4 breathing rather than on the side, and all the things I've just mentioned as well. Now, on top of all those things, with this pillow like this, and we want a pillow that doesn't put pressure on your ear, we have to make sure that there's no pressure on your jaw either. Now, that's quite hard because a lot of these things are trying to keep support for your neck. But if you put in pressure on your jaw, you end up doing this, and you get like a crossbite thing where your teeth end up doing that. And that can be quite painful for your jaw and also disrupt your dentition as well. So you need to make sure that isn't causing a problem. But also, if you're sleeping in an extended position, it's quite sort of important that you breathe with your mouth closed if you possibly can. Breathe through your nose. So the idea is that you keep your mouth shut so you can breathe through your nose, because that gives a much better quality of breathing as well. If you're sleeping on your side, typically people have a real problem where to put their hand. Do they put their hand forward like this, or do they put their hand underneath and they sleep like this? Whatever happens, this arm, the one that you're sleeping on top of, seems to go numb. So you end up with this sort of pins and needles thing. And if that happens to you in the middle of the night, it's natural that the body goes, hang on, this arm's hurting. I'm going to roll onto my back and give a bit of oxygen or blood supply to this arm so it starts working again. But then if you have snoring and sleep apnea, you start snoring, your poor wife wakes up and has to roll you back over again. And again, the cycle repeats. So trying to get a pillow or a system that allows you to not have a numb arm, so it's comfortable, you can move your arm around, is really helpful. Now, if you're sleeping on your side, you can't have your arm out like this, because actually that seems to stretch some tendons. And I spoke to a chiropractor about this, and I didn't quite understand why it's not nice to have your arm out like this. And I think an orthopedic surgeon explained to me as well, but I'm not an arm surgeon at all. But the idea is that instead of your arm out like this, which seems to reduce the blood flow a little bit to your arm, actually having it bent like this when you're lying down seems to work better. So having a system that allows you to sleep on your side without putting pressure on your arm and allowing it to be bent like this without it flopping forward is really, really important. It also causes problems with your spine, because you don't want to be all twisted like that when you're lying on your side. And they can have problems with pressure on your hip as well. Now, so women who are pregnant, who are very heavily pregnant, will have the same problem. When they're lying on their side, they know they have to lie on their side because they don't want to put pressure on the major blood vessels in the body, which ends up feeding the baby less blood. So they always try and sleep on one side to take the pressure off these blood vessels. They end up also having problems with their hips and with their legs. If you're lying your leg, I'm not going to describe, if your legs are like this, they tend to cross over. And so that can put pressure on your hip joints as well. So all of these things, I think, need to be taken account of when you're sleeping on your side, because it just makes sleeping on your side, or this recovery position, difficult. And what my wife's a GP, who's an amazing GP, but what my wife and I want to do is make this device that will help people do this. We've come up with a design. I think it works very well. We were in New York. We spoke to a number of manufacturers and people who thought that they could help us create this device. And I'm really hopeful that one of these companies from America, Pakistan, and other places that I spoke to will be able to help me make this device. And fingers crossed, it will work and people will like it, because I think it's important. I think if I can get people to use a device that makes their sleep better, helps them sleep on their side, so they don't have to put such high pressures on their CPAP, or they can move to maybe a slightly less invasive option like a mandibular advancement device, or some people, if they can sleep on their side, they don't actually need any treatment at all. They have purely positional obstructive sleep apnea or purely positional snoring. If you can get a situation where your husband doesn't keep rolling onto their back, or wife, I think most people know that after menopause, by the age of sort of 55, 60, women catch up with the boys in terms of level of snoring and sleep apnea. So if we can get people to sleep on their side, then hopefully there'll be quieter nights around the country, or other countries, I guess, if it goes further than England. And the idea is that it should help people, and I'm hoping it will help people. Anyway, look, I'm going to leave you alone. Thank you very much. I've got another video about a system I invented, and it'll be in this next video coming up. Take care. Bye-bye.